the people that are rewarded right now are the ones taking action, moving forward, doing it messy. And I want you to be that person. If you are still sitting back and thinking, oh, I don't know, the decision is the strategy. That's it. When you make that decision, so much can change. Here we go, guys. Final episode of the Authority season. Now, this is the season closing episode, and I'm going to argue it is one of the most important ones of the whole season because I feel like this entire season, we've talked about authority in so many different contexts. And I just want you to recognize that this isn't a milestone. Like, authority is not a milestone. It's not something that I'm going to tick a box, I'm going to move on. And I think when we are talking about like closing off this season, it's not the end of the conversation. It is I want you to take everything we've talked about for the last 8 episodes and I want you to action it. Because the people that are rewarded right now are the ones taking action, moving forward, doing it messy. And I want you to be that person who has decided, you know what? I'm going to build a business built around authority. I'm going to incorporate more authority. I know that there's something a bit broken with the clients I'm attracting or the thing I'm selling or the way I'm delivering. I know there's something that needs to be tweaked and fixed and upgraded. And so if you have listened to every episode, been nodding along, felt all of these ideas land, and you still have not moved, now is the time. This episode is for you. Because the reason that you haven't moved right now is I'm going to argue because I've given you the information. I know you've got the confidence. I'm going to argue is that you haven't made the decision to move. And that decision is the strategy. Everything that you have been wanting and waiting for permission to do, I'm giving it to you because I know you're smart. I know you're capable. I know you're experienced. I hope you are no longer outsourcing your confidence to external sources and waiting on the right qualification, waiting on someone to tap you on the shoulder, waiting for an arbitrary follow count. I hope that you believe that the right person to tell you when you're ready and when you're ready to move, I hope you know that it's you. So this is not a confidence problem. It is a decision problem. Confidence is not something you accumulate when you have enough. I believe it is something that follows the decision, not precedes it. And we talked about this in other episodes that we just have to make the decision. And then the confidence comes, the authority comes. And so we do have to kind of like borrow a little bit of confidence. And in theory, how that looks and how that plays out when we're borrowing confidence from our future selves is it's just a trust that I'm going to get there. So if you haven't yet trusted that you're going to get there, it's because you haven't decided. And I want to say, and I think my ultimate goal in life is for women to trust themselves, to make more money and to trust themselves, because I have seen so many women become opt-in goblins. They're just like, rah, 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 rah. I'm going to grab all of the opt-ins or lead magnet goblins. And they have this belief that more courses, more information, the more I consume is where I'm going to get my confidence. But really, it's around a decision. And I want to talk about when I made that decision. When I made the decision that I was not just going to do kind of one-for-one work. I was going to move away from not just one-to-one, but I was going to move away from the agency model and I was going to start really stepping into authority. And I remember I want to say it was the start of 2019 because was it the start of 2019? I reckon it was the start of 2019 and I had like a 9-month-old, like little baby boy, or maybe I had a 6-month-old. I had a little baby boy. I've had a little baby boy many, many years, but I reckon he would have been about 6 months old. And I was listening to an audiobook and it was You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. And I was listening to it and there's a lot of manifesting but there's also a lot of like self-belief around taking action, making the decision and doing the damn thing. And I realized that what I was seeking in this book and in the marketplace was I was seeking someone to help me figure out how to run a business as a regional woman, how to show up, how to lead conversations. And I realized it just didn't exist. And so I made the decision that I would be that person, that I would lead conversations around how to market in regional areas. I would make that transition to really owning the space. And it was so uncomfortable at first. And then it wasn't. And now it's second nature. And so if you are still sitting back and thinking, oh, I don't know, the decision is the strategy. That's it. Like, it is time for you to stop waiting and it's time for you to move. And when you make that decision, so much can change. And what that decision does is not actually, it doesn't change your expertise because you already have that. Like, you're already good at what you do. It changes your behavior. It changes your messaging. It changes your standards. We start to see it impact your pricing and the conversations you're willing to have and the ones you're willing to no longer tolerate. And this is, I'm going to go a bit harder on that one. The conversations you're no longer willing to tolerate. Now, I have been in business for almost a decade now. And I am very much here for regional women in business. Like, that is what I'm here for. Now, can I help everyone? Probably if I cloned myself. However, the women that I am here to work for and work with are the ones who are ready to grow, ready to scale. They've got a good foundation and they're ready for more. I think it would be a waste of both of our time and resources if you come to me too early. And I tell people this on discovery calls, like, I think you're a bit too early for where I am. Like, my sweet spot is let's take you from where you're at, which is generally a pretty solid business, and let's grow it. 100% I can take you from idea and turn that into a business. I find a lot of the time the investment of what it is to work with me doesn't quite match someone who isn't yet generating anything in their business. So I don't want to say I'm not willing to tolerate conversations with people who are brand new to business, but it's just a different conversation. It looks very different. And I'm very transparent around the fact of, you're probably too early. I'm probably not the right person for you. And that is a leadership decision. That is a decision that I have made internally in my business. And it can be a bit polarizing. And I'm totally okay with being polarizing. Because if we want to talk about being polarizing, I know, if you're a longtime listener to the podcast, I know I said that 2026 is the year I'm willing to be trolled more than ever. You guys, I did not expect to get trolled as hard as I did during this launch. I had an ad running about tall poppy syndrome and how it's rampant in regional Australia. The DMs I got about people saying that I was so off base, people questioning, who do you think you are? Where are your statistics coming from? Saying this is making me question your credibility. You have no credibility, blah, blah, blah. Like, let's talk about keyboard warriors on the internet. When you have a polarizing opinion, people are going to, which I didn't even think that was polarizing. I thought everyone knew that tall poppy syndrome, like, it's pretty apparent, especially if you're coming at it as a coach. And so where am I getting my stats from? The conversations, the DMs, the coaching conversations, the intake forms, everything I'm doing every single day is where I'm getting my statistics about tall poppy syndrome on the ground, front lines reporting. So having a polarizing opinion, it is a sign of leadership. Like, it is totally a sign of leadership. So I no longer write content to please everyone. I'm not a business coach that is here to help every single person with every single business model. I don't take clients who are not a fit because it just doesn't make sense. I broke up with an emotional attachment to pricing a long time ago. Coaching my clients through that breakup is one of my favorite things because you stop explaining, you stop trying to justify, and it's just like, these are my prices, they are what they are, and there's zero attachment to them. And that is the point that I want every single person to be. And when you are kind of moving into this, like, all of the things that cascade once you have made this authority decision, the market doesn't just promote you. It's like, okay, I'm the leader, and then the market catches up. So the recognition kind of follows the behavior. It really is kind of that fake it till you make it. But you have to have the authority built around you. And this is something that I talk to my clients with. Like, I have a beautiful client that we've just started. She's got 20 years of experience doing this incredible business, and she hasn't built her authority around it because we're discussing her pricing, and I said, I think your pricing needs to be here. And essentially, I think it was 3 or 4 times her current rate. And she said, there's no way anyone will pay that. They're not paying it now. And I said, I understand that, but we are going to create this solid authority around your 20 years of experience, because people aren't paying for the hour. They are paying for the 20 years of experience. They're paying for the shortcut. And we haven't packaged it in a way where your authority is crystal clear and why you're the shortcut. Once we do that, that's when people are just like, yep, that price makes sense. And so, yeah, it is a little bit of fake it till you make it, but I can almost guarantee every woman I'm working with has the experience, has the expertise to back it up. And I feel like this episode is the full circle moment to our first episode in the season of you don't become an authority, you decide to be one. And I hope after 8 episodes of listening to me bang on, you're ready to make that decision, because this is a decision and there is an identity shift with it. Like I said, I was listening to this audiobook and it really triggered this decision of I'm going to go become the leading regional expert for growing and scaling your business. And that was the shift. And I can almost guarantee that, like I was back then, that there's some level of you already operating at the level you want to be at. Like you've already got the experience, you've got all of the pieces, and it's just we need to pull it together with a pretty bow. And the gap between where you are and where you want to be, we know it has nothing to do with skills and knowledge. It's about shifting your identity, and then it's about structuring. And I believe it's a decision to shift that identity and to make that decision. Because yes, of course, we're always going to have these like compounding fears around I'm too big for my boots. Who do I think I am? All of those lovely comments that trolls like to leave on when we're polarizing or we're standing up or we're being seen. Let's name it, let's validate it, but let's challenge it. Let's push back. I am totally okay with you being too big for your boots. I think it's great. I wish everyone was too big for their boots, because that level of leadership means you're just owning your position. It's just saying, yeah, I really am the leading expert here. So what? So what? What are you going to do about it? Write a mean comment on Facebook? Like, it's not that big of a deal. But making the decision to get there is the hard bit. So I want you to take a minute, decide if this identity shift, if this structure is something that you want, so that in 18 months, you're not looking back going, everything's exactly the same. And I think another one of my core values is, what's the impact for regional Australia? Because I know if more women in regional Australia had more money, we've got more opportunities, more resources, and it just becomes that economic impact keeps flowing. And the women that I work with are incredible women. And so let's make sure that your businesses can support you where you live and make your life where you live balanced and full. I appreciate you guys so much for joining me for this season. The waitlist is open for the regional experts, and if you are a waitlisted member, you always get first access when doors open. You get an early invitation, and I always give exclusive bonuses to my waitlist people. All right, guys, thank you so much for having me in your ears, and I will see you on the next season.